Hello, hello. What's up? What's up? It is a new day, it is a new week, and it's time to get social. My name is Kayvana, and welcome to the Introverts Social Hour. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Introvert Social Hour. Today, we are talking about Disney Channel, the golden era. I really do believe I grew up in the best era of Disney channels. No era can top that 2000s era. Like nothing tops it at all. I feel like that's something that a lot of people around my age can relate to. It really was prime television and also like television movies. You know what I'm saying? So this is gonna be a solo dolo episode with just me. You're gonna be listening to me for a good chunk of time. And then we're just gonna be chatting it up. I can't hear you, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a great conversation. um, so I wanted to really like go in first of like what the golden era is for me. You know what I'm saying? And so I really do think it is like that 2000s into maybe potentially early 2010s. I will say I started falling off around like the Good Luck Charlie times, the what was it, Casey Undercover, all the things like that. At that point, I was probably watching like Vampire Diaries or all the drama on ABC Family, depending on the shows that they decided to keep and not cancel. Watching Awkward on MTV, things like that. So I was really much into my teen era. So I did start falling off at a certain point, but I'm still very acquainted with like certain Disney Channel movies that came after that time period. I think Zombies is a solid a solid movie series. I quite enjoy it actually, but I haven't watched the latest one. But I get the hype for the young ones. And also Descendants ate down in the beginning. I think they're kind of holding on to it a bit. I feel like they should have probably stopped at 3, but Disney gonna do what Disney gonna do. Let's talk about it in regards to why this era means so much. Really, and that's why it's like I don't know why people have so much problems with like Disney adults or just like people who love Disney as an adult, whether they're going to Disneyland or not or whatever. But it's like it really we grew up on Disney, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, we had Nickelodeon and stuff, and that would be a whole separate episode for itself too. Let me know if you want that. And also like Cartoon Network, but like Disney really was like they knew that they were that girl. You know what I'm saying? The content that they put out, the shows that they put out, was like it was like creme de la creme. Like it was literally the best of the best. I think Nickelodeon saw that and was like, okay, girls, we need to like wake it up because then eventually down the line we get like True Jack's Heavy P and stuff. But they were really in their own lane and in their own line. But like I said, different episode. um, but I really do think that us growing up on Disney, specifically me, maybe you didn't grow up on Disney as you're listening to this right now, but I got to grow up with like That's So Raven, Penny Proud, Lizzie McGuire. You know what I'm saying? Even like if we're talking about like movies, Xenon, yeah, Cheetah Girls. I loved me a good Jump In, twitches, like all of that stuff. And even a separate episode, and I have the episode with my friends that we talk about like different like our loves for Halloween movies and stuff. Like shout outs to how Disney played a huge role in me loving Halloween so much to this day. Like Halloween Town, like I said, Twitches was a part of that series too. I loved what was the Phantom of the Megaplex, Don't Look Under the Bed, even though it was creepy at the time. I loved all of that stuff. Like that really does define a part of me. And they got us. They got us good. Like they were like, if we get the kids early, they might stay. And I'm one of the kids that stayed. You are correct about that. But like let's not even forget about High School Musical, Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana? Yeah, that me and Miley, we go way back. So that's why it means so much to me because I got to see things that I could relate to and then also see things that I could like kind of dream about or wish about in the future, and all of the above. So it really just Disney's really that girl for me. I don't know. Might I add, we're not even mentioning, all of the outer movies outside of Disney Channel. That's a whole other thing. But shout out to Tiana. That's my girl. um but let's go into shows that shaped my humor. Like I really want to go into that. Shows that shaped humor, like confident sense of style, shows that definitely I could say like, ooh, I feel like that kind of like lifted me up and kind of like made me feel, like, oh, this is something I could do or something I can be or something that I could aspire for. You know what I'm saying? Um, One I'm definitely going for, that's a Raven, hands down. Do you know how much I said, "Oh snap," as a kid? That was my thing. Raven had like the most funny, random sayings, and I feel like that's very much me to this day. I kind of find my own sayings, and it just happens. It's a very natural thing. And I just kind of have an error of a phrase, and it eventually goes out of style somehow. And I look back, I'm like, oh, I don't really say that anymore. Oh, this is probably something I say more often now. Like, for a while, like, for example, I used to call people fidget sticks. Don't ask me why. I was just doing that. you know? Um, right now, my latest has been question mark, question mark. Like, I'll ask a question and say question mark after the question. Um, I love a good when someone says period, I'll say exclamation mark. And I remember as a teacher, my kids would be like, "What?" But they would love it. But that was just something I was just like, yeah, like it was like instead of saying period again, I was like, yeah, you're right, exclamation mark. Like, exactly. I'm with you on that. And like literally it's an exclamation of what you were saying. So um that's where I feel like I get that from. I will say what I loved about Raven was, her she was free about it. She was kind of wild. That's where I never got I never got to that place of just like chaos. I'm very much a type A, you know, uh I like things to be a certain way, I think before I act, kind of things like that. And Raven was definitely not that girl. But I always loved how she was so willing to jump in. I loved her confidence in any situation that she put herself in. Um, like like what did they say? Like shyness is afraid of Raven, and I always loved that. I thought that was so cool to me. And not only that, but just like seeing a main black girl on a show was super important to me as well. Because at that time period, once again talking about kid shows specifically, because we could talk about, check out my show, my episode talking about black sitcoms, this season. I dropped it in June, but specifically, I'm trying to think, like, because Raven was out before True Jackson. True Jackson came down the line a while back. We had Penny Proud eventually, but that's, it is an animation. That's something to consider. So having like an actual black girl lead and then an actual full black family in the show, seeing that growing up, seeing how fully confident she was in herself, how unafraid she was to like go for her things and go for her dreams, be a fashionista, things like that. She made mistakes along the way, but I loved like the storyline of it all was just like, you're gonna make mistakes, you're going to do things that you think are going to, eventually be something good, as you would think you have good intentions, but maybe it wasn't the best approach, and I think that's they never missed a good like meaning to each episode. It's like every episode has a problem. All those wrap ups that they kind of had and those kind of like final lessons of the episode were always really important to me. And then speaking of Halloween, I think that That's a Raven has some solid Halloween episodes. I never forget the one with her and like she somehow turns into a cow. I think it was her and Chelsea. So yeah, and I love the side friends and the B plots and all that stuff like that. The brother, I actually side note too. I actually liked Corey in the House. Some people don't apparently, but I was vibing with that show when it was out as a not as a reboot, like a I can't think of the word, but y'all know what I mean. And then going into Proud Family, in regards to let's talk about Penny for a second. First of all, I love Penny down. Don't ever talk about Penny, okay? I have a Penny Proud blanket to this day. I've had it for years. And I literally my mom loves the blanket too. I was like, I'm taking this blanket. This is my blanket. I know you bought it for me when I was a kid, but this is my blanket. I'm taking it. um, but yeah, I really want to say in regards to Penny, same situation. Like, first of all, Penny was real. I would say Raven had some moments she was like, oh, I'm not too sure. Penny kept it real down pack. She called people out on her mess and stuff. I relate to it. She was older sister. I'm an oldest daughter. Um, her dad was, chaotic energy, but her mom was very like calm, but her mom kept it real too. And I love that. I love the friendship dynamics that we got along the way, and all the drama and things like that. It was very like middle schooly, and I want to say that's when they that's when it was based off of. You watch shows and you're like, when was like, but it was very middle schooly, but it was like very much like, no, I'm eating this up. Whether it was some kind of drama, I will say this. First of all, solid intro song. Okay, shout out to Solange. Um, I would also say I love Sugar Mama, the grandma tie-in with the dog, all of that. Solid for like black family representation. Um, and I also really love the movie. The movie, y'all remember the Peanuts? And then Zoe's breaking it down in the back. Yeah, that was it for me. So they comedy, they had it down packed. They knew exactly what they needed to do. And it's so interesting. I tried to get back into like the reboot that they started. I couldn't 100%. It's one of those things where I think it's like once you've experienced it and you want to kind of feel nostalgic about it, but it's like, no, that was the past time. Like, maybe I'll, if I'm whenever I'm ready, I'll try to continue it. But it was something I didn't stick with, that kind of fell off of. Um, and then moving into one of my favorite shows that people don't talk about, I would say enough in regards to nostalgia. I would say Lizzie McGuire, to be honest, team. And I think it's because that was in that era. Maybe it's more so people my age. So if you are like a early millennial, you could probably relate more to this. I am a later Gen Z, but I define myself as like a zillennial. It's like in that middle section. But I loved Lizzie McGuire down. Loved Lizzie McGuire down. I was watching that probably before I could even really, understand everything that was happening, in the episodes in the school drama and all stuff like that. They also had a solid Halloween lineup too. And then I loved maybe, maybe I might have to blame Disney for my like hopeless romanticness. But I loved like the whole potential of like friends to lovers with was like Gordo and Lizzie. And then I love that also Lizzie was a fashion icon. I will say Disney, while I give you your flowers, I also am really salty that we never got the reboot that we deserved. Now, I can say like I'm not a big reboot girly, like, give us something new. But if we were gonna do it right. And I really do think that the team was on the right direction and Disney was like not they didn't know what to do with it because they didn't know the direction that Disney Plus was going yet. And I think that's really unfair. But I know that there's two episodes done somewhere, so Disney released them. Thank you. Moving on, I wanted to talk about Hannah Montana. Now, listen, I feel like Hannah Montana, that's what really was the drama because it was like she's already living two different lives. She's hiding it from her peoples. It was always like, who's gonna find out when? Like, oh my gosh, it looks like it's building up to, Lily finding out. When's she gonna officially, how is Lily gonna find out? Is she gonna tell her? Or is Lily gonna find out on accident? Mitchell, oh my gosh. And I think that's his real name. I can't think of his character's name. And then everything going on with all the boys. He could be the one smooth talking. I want to know you. Like let's be real here. Let's be real here. All the music, they have the music down packed. Anybody remember like the Bone song? I had it at one point and then I definitely forgot it. But like let's do the bone dance, something like that. Um, you know, Miley Cyrus. Let's talk about Miley Cyrus for a second. I hope she knows she's that girl. Actually, I don't have to hope. I know she is. Her confidence level out of this park. And I aspire to be her one day. In regards to like I don't care, but she man, oh man, I don't know. I feel like I love she's had some errors. We know that. We've seen them all. Um and people stayed for some, people left for others and all of the above. But out of anything everything you can't take away Miley's like um impact, and not just for us as kids, but just like overall, even as like going from small, elementary to middle school to being teens and high school. Like she knew how to stay relevant, which was why I was so surprised that she got her first Grammy with Flowers. Like she should have been had a Grammy in her pocket. So I was really shook about that. Um, but like, we all know Party in the USA and stuff like that. But I really feel like when she did her Can't Be Tamed era and she was trying to break out the Hannah Montana box, I was like, okay, okay, Cage. Like, like she was really going for like angsty. And I understand like a lot. We've seen a lot of Disney Channel characters, not characters, Disney Channel um actors, and have to figure out that new path. Not even just Disney Channel, because even Kiki Palmer's talked about that. Um, going from like Disney Channel, not Disney, well, not just Disney Channel, but Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, like being a kid actor into like being an adult actor. Um, kind of having to hit a huge 180 maybe is helpful. Just to let people know people are weird. So sometimes there's always going to be some kind of pushback, as if you don't grow up. But yeah, that can't be tamed. When she dropped that and it played during the commercials, it played during the commercials, so Disney didn't have a problem with it. It ate down to me. I love that. And then she kept going from there. I side note, I did stay for her bangers era. I think it's great. I made a TikTok about that. Love, money, body, money, body. Yeah. And then moving into Wizards of Waverly Place. Yeah, yeah. Um, Now I will say there's a certain point where I within where Wizards of Waverly Place, I will say I was watching that, just trying to like finish it out, while also still like moving into my like CW era, ABC Family, all that stuff like that. So there was a point where I was like, okay, girl. But I will say that the whole werewolf era, that's the season and stuff like that, I vibe with that. Like I said, I love a good like is it kind of like enemies, enemies to lovers of sorts. um, I really love that a lot. And then also I like their family dynamic. I loved once again, kind of going back. I feel like Alex Russo and Raven Baxter would have been fire friends. I feel like they probably would have low key got on each other's nerves, but they would have just been like being chaotic together and just causing problems across the board. Alex, confidence level galore, right? She didn't care. What you got to say? Crack jokes on her siblings. Like she was like, I'm a good wizard. Like you can't tell me like I'm good at what I do, et cetera, et cetera. And so I feel like that I really love the witty writing of it all. And I loved the magic. And I actually did when it comes to the movie. I liked the movie actually. Looking back, it's not something that I watch over and over again, so it wasn't like this ecstatic, masterpiece or anything like that. But I think that if they were gonna do a movie, I'm glad that it came out the way it did. It wasn't bad. So that's something to, say in regards to it. But yeah, I feel like when you have Wizards of Waverly Place and Hannah Montana on at the same time. Plus I can't remember if Wizards had an overlap with That's a Raven, but like all of those things right there, all of those girlies taking lead, yas. I know for a fact That's a Raven and Lizzie should have been on at the same time. Um, and then moving into Sunny with a Chance. If we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna talk about it. I gotta talk about all the pop girlies. You know what I'm saying? Listen, here's what I say: not enough eps. I know we know the issues that came. Demi, listen, Demi was done wrong. I've seen her documentaries and stuff. And so, it happened the way it happened. And I remember being sad when I was like, "What? Demi's gone? They're not gonna do something with the Chance anymore?" And they did that other show that I tried to watch, but I was like, no. The reason why I was so in it, one, I loved how like Sunny was just so like, oh my gosh, LA. I'm just super excited to be here. Things like that. Very kind of like naive, but excited to like achieve her dreams and come up in the world in the way that she wanted to. Even though like that's not the places she's in a place that she didn't come from. So it's very new. She's getting acquainted with these new people, new vibes, new like not everybody's going to be your friend or be voting for you and rooting for you. Being careful about that. And I feel like from what I hear about, the industry, it's still very much the same thing. But so I'm kind of glad that they kind of pulled that in for like a kid show for funsies, but like there's also some, reality to it. I loved all of the comedy. I think it was a solid show for physical comedy. And now that I say that, also give a shout out to Miss Raven Simone on that as well, because physical comedy was solid, 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 solid in That's So Raven. But I love the physical comedy in Sunny with a Chance. I also, y'all know I'm a rom com girly. I love the enemies to lovers trope. Mm-hmm. Chad Dylan Cooper. Yeah. Yup, yup. I listen, and that's what I was waiting for, and I think it finally happened. But it was one of those things that it happened, and you could tell that they were gonna eventually like break up again, and then eventually, if there would have been more seasons, they would have found each other again. It was definitely one of those situations because they were still having like, as per usual, as one does when you go from like an enemies to lovers show, is like they were having problems and things. But I loved that because they were like, especially for Demi's character Sunny to have a problem with somebody being like so kind and nice was like, no. Now we have beef because I was trying to be nice to you and now you're just like so stuck up. But I loved his character because it was like silly, you know? Um I love that. Sterling Knight, you did a solid job as Chad Dylan Cooper. And then let's move into some movies. I want to talk about some movies real quick. So let's see. Let's go into musicals. While we're there, let's talk about Camp Rock. Da 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 da. Kind of, now I'm thinking about it, y'all. Kind of a similar concept in regards to Sunny with a Chance. Girl comes in, not really well acquainted with this like new universe or world that she's hopping into, has issues, etc., etc., etc, ends up falling in love with someone that maybe she shouldn't be falling in love with, but it kind of works out in the end. Even though they have issues, their breakup song in Camp Rock 2, like Fire and Rain, it'll drive you yes, yes, they did that. We'll talk about it later too. But High School Musical 2 parallel with the breakup songs, yeah, yeah, they did that thing. But I quite enjoyed Camp Rock as well. I will say in regards to it's good. High School Musical is still up there. And yeah, I think we know that. High School Musical is the better musical series. Now, if you are a Gen Z younger generation, like the younger of the Gen Z, and don't come to me talking about no Descendants, respectfully. Respectfully, Rotten to the Chorus fire song. Descendants is good. I could give you that. Don't ever. And we don't acknowledge High School Musical, the musical, the series, respectfully. Shout out to Olivia Rodrigo. She's doing her thing. Okay, moving forward. Um, Camp Rock, solid. Too Cool for You, fire song, by the way. Is that yeah, Too Cool for You. Too Cool for You, fire song. Um, and then what Camp Rock 3? No, there wasn't a Camp Rock 3. Why am I thinking Camp Rock 3? It was only Camp Rock 1 and 2. Yeah. Let me double check that cuz I'm like I don't know why. I think nah, that's what I'm thinking. There were theories that might happen again. I highly 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 doubt that. Now that everybody's really like settled into their lives, whether they're parents or got significant others, etc., etc. And I just don't see why we would do that for leave it be at this point. Leave it be. But also shout out to their like what was it like? I'm trying to like clap so y'all could hear it. I can't think of dun, 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 dun. Camp Rock when they were like coming in doing that like step. I thought maybe that's what they want to call it. A step routine coming in to their competitors. People talk about that to this day. Hilarious. Moving into High School Musical, I could literally talk about the whole series for a whole episode. I'm not even gonna hold you, so I'm gonna try to keep this short. But let's not get it twisted. High School Musical is that girl. I love similar concept, Disney. I'm seeing a trend here. Homegirl comes in. This is new environment. She's got some people don't like her. They think she's a threat. Miss Sharpay. We get a lot of really cool B plot characters and B plot storylines. Shout out to Monique, aka Taylor, I believe is her character's name. A shout out to first of all, I'm gonna listen. If we're gonna talk about crushes, we're gonna talk about Corbin Blue. Yup, yup, yup. Corbin Blue still to this day. And then I found when as you get older and you're like he's still a theater guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I love Corbin Blue down. But yes, Corbin Blue, he was my kid crush when I was younger. Like I, who didn't have Corbin Blue as a kid crush? I like, huh? You know what I'm saying? Um but I love Corbin Blue down. When it came to Zac Efron, he was just there. I was like, okay, a cute patootie. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad he's never left. You know what I'm saying? In regards to acting, he's even expanded his roles and stuff. And I see him trying to aim for that. I feel like he is currently trying to aim for that Oscar one day, but I see him getting an Oscar nom one day. It's just a matter of right place, right time, right role. Right team, etc., etc. Um, and then in regards to the series completion, like 2 and 3, I think they did a solid wrap up. High School Musical 2, don't get me. I already said this in my TikTok one time. High School Musical 2 is the best one. I know a lot of y'all are just gonna disagree on that. We're gonna have to agree to disagree. But when you have worked this out, you have bet on it. Like, let's come on, come on, come on. Like, even those two alone, I don't dance. Like, let's come on, y'all. But if we're gonna be really honest, the whole entire series, 1, 2, and 3, is truly no skip. I think the only thing people would probably skip, and that's on a bonus, they knew to take that out the movie, was a Huna Nuka Nuka Apua. Yeah, they knew to take that out. Yeah. But I do own all three High School Musical CDs. Or actually, no, I do. I own all three. I did not get to see High School Musical 3 in the theaters. Rip. I was not someone who went to the theaters often as a kid. That was considered a high expense for me. Okay. Hashtag low income. But I was able to, side note, I asked my mom for my birthday. I begged spear change. Like, I asked her, and I was able to go see Hannah Montana, the movie that ate down. You always find your way back home. What was it, the do the hold down, throw down? Yup. Love that. Um, and I think that was pretty much it. I hadn't watched a movie in a long time since then, until I like got to college, and then I started like watching movies more on a regular, and then now I watch them even more on a regular. Shout out to, but not a sponsor, AMC, with their Stubs premiere. But yes, I would definitely say Disney did their thing when they started dropping actual theater releases. I think, I was gonna say maybe High School Musical 2 should have been one, but I'm glad it wasn't. But I think it could have been. It definitely could have been. But I think when it comes to them, they have to see, like, okay, one, maybe that was a fluke. Let's see about two. Okay, two was good. Okay, now let's put three in the theaters. Hannah Montana was already like an established thing with multiple seasons and special episodes. Shout out to like all the crossover episodes we had and things like that. Solid. Speaking of crossover episodes, I think the best TV series to have crossover episodes was Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Then eventually became what was that? Sweet Life on Deck. Yeah. But they had some solid either guest appearances or special crossover episodes and things like that. They really had a solid collaboration, and I give it to them because you can tell which show it was leaning on. You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, that's a Raven, Hannah Montana. And then it's like everything's at Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. So that's why I give it to them. Based off their location. Um, Also, it's Halloween season is upon us. I know technically to you it isn't, but to me it is. Summerween hashtag. So also solid, solid, solid Halloween episode when they're in that room together with Esteban and team. Yeah, I love that episode down. Um, I wanted to give a shout out to Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century. Yeah. But let's give a first of all, let's give snaps to the fashion. Zeta Slapitas. Okay. They had zoom, 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 make my heart go. What? Supernova girl. Also, wait, hold up. Let me go back because my brain just thought about this. That's a Raven. I cannot talk about you without talking about Boys in Motion. We are the boys in motion. Let's give you our emotion, boys. What? I'm over here dancing. You can't see it. Give me our emotion. Yeah. Yup. I just want to say that they did their thing with that one. With the dancing too. Ooh, yeah, I love that. But yeah, that boys, we got Boys in Motion. We got I can't think of the group that did Make My Heart Go Supernova Girl. I can't think of the group name or slash if we even got one. I'm pretty sure we did though. I just that's not something that really stuck. But yeah, I love Zetus Lapidus, aka the Xenon series down. That was super solid. And then in regards to some other honorable mentions, I talked about Twitches, but never forget my girls, Tia Tamara. Twitches 1 and Twitches 2, solid movies. Will say as a kid, I was a little bit nervous about us having a Twitches 2, but I think they did a great job. My flex in regards to Twitches, I knew that the sisters switch places. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a scene. I'm trying to not switch up Alex. I'm trying to think of their characters' names. Alex and I think Tia's character was Alex. Yes, because I remember Tamara's character calling for her. And I was always wondering why the heck Alex was wearing her sister's dress and at the party, but when as a kid, you're not overthinking a situation. So I was just like, maybe there's a part of the movie I'm misunderstanding into which she's pretending to be her sister. Like I'm really confused about that, but whatever. And then even as I watched it as I got older, I was just like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. I'm missing something here. It never clicked to me that they were trying to like actually like they purposely put Tia to be her sister's character and they thought nobody was going to notice. I have noticed ever since I was a child. I just never understood what I missed in the storyline. Plot twist was I didn't miss anything in the storyline. They really switched those sisters because I think Tamara was unavailable for whatever reason. And they said we gotta shoot this scene. So go ahead and put your sister's dress on. Nobody's gonna know. No, I knew, even with the mask. Even with the mask, I've known them. I've been able to tell them apart ever since I started watching like Sister Sister and stuff. That's an easy twin differentiation for me. So fun fact, like they look the same as sisters, and of course they do look like twins, but they don't look like twins to me. Like they are obviously different. If they come up to me in person, I could be like, "Oh, that's Tio, that's Samara." That's my flex. I don't know. I put some respect on, their impact that they made as we grew up. Those are my girls. Sister Sister. Yup. 17 again. Yup. All of that. Listen, I could do a whole conversation on 17 again too. That is my moving down. Sean, where's the album? Yeah. Okay, moving on. So I just want to know, curiosity, which decom did you rewatch the most? And then also, which decom moment lives rent free in your mind? I would say the rewatch probably does. Jump In, I watched a lot as a repeat. I would say here, you know what? Because we were talking about musicals and I totally skipped over it. Cheetah Girls. I think that's my answer there. Girl power, period. Cinderella, period. I felt that message in my spirits. I don't want to be like Cinderella. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I waiting for somebody to come and set me free. No, I'm gonna set myself free. Like what? Of course. The drama of the sisterhood of it all. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Listen, anytime I bring up Disney, Raven is all over the place in this. Cheetah Girls, that's what Raven, Xenon, all of the things. Raven did exactly what she needed to do. She played her character so well. I was very heartbroken when she was not in 3. But I really do think 3 is also like still a solid movie. Like you can't tell me Dance Me If You Can is not a bop. The general storyline is kind of but at least give props to Dance Me If You Can. That ate down. And then also like I feel like Cheetah Girls 2 made everyone want to go to Barcelona. Like anytime people go to Barcelona, a lot of the times you see them recreating that like really awesome moment in Strut as they should. Cheetah Girls 2, it's over. It's over. Yeah. When Raven dramatically opens the window and the wind is blowing, yep. So I would say that is my rewatch. I'm gonna put that as a series as a whole. Um, I think I like Cheetah Girls 2 more. I don't know. It's something about that middle is like things are so established that they just get even better. And then 3 was kind of like Raven's gone, so not as fun. You know what I'm saying? Also, shout out Raven not in the song, but Fuego, fire. Adrian Bailon, you did your thing. And then a decom moment that lives rent free in your mind. To be honest, y'all, I would say I always go back to Work This Out by High School Musical. High School Musical 2. I have loved the dance sequencing of that. Kenny Ortega, if I can ever meet you in this lifetime, that would be an honor, sir. Um, I love that dance. That it's the choreography and the music and the tie-ins with the pots and pans, like the props and stuff. A diggity down. I love it so much. So I would say that's the one that lives front free in my mind. To be quite honest with you. And then we talked about, in regards to representation and stuff, all the lessons we see down the line. I loved every piece of comedy we got. I really do think best comedy, show or even like decom experience. It really does go to one, that's a Raven as a show, and then two, I would say, for a movie. Comedy wise, that's actually a solid question. I think comedy wise, I would probably give it to, because I'm trying to think of one that was really had emphasis on comedy. You know what? Actually, I love the comedy that happened between Corbin Blue and Kiki Palmer and Jump In. I think there was like a fun impact on it while it was very like serious, like double dutch versus boxing and all stuff like that. I love that there were some comedy tie-ins because like Corbin Blue's character was trying to act like super cool and suave, and then there was moments that he wasn't cool and suave, and Kiki's character could really like eat him up. It's like, nah, like you need to chillax and sit down. And they also end up liking each other, so it's very cutesy. Um, but like I said earlier, I really do see a reflection of all the DComs and the Disney Channel TV series, and how they really installed, like, they really tried to create this level of confidence for you, and really tried to create this, like, dream big, go for that, friendship and family and stuff like that. Speaking of color friendship, when you rewatch it as an adult, you're like, wow, okay, um, I want to give a shout out to that color friendship. I loved Cadet Kelly, and while we didn't talk about it, Kim Possible, that was one of my favorite animations in addition to Penny Proud. I loved Kim Possible down. Um, and then also solid enemies, like solid villains. Yeah. And then I also wanted to give note to, I was just thinking about it and it went blank in my head. Um if it comes back to me, I'll drop it somewhere for y'all. But there's just so many. They have so many solid Disney Channel original movies. Oh, there it is. Found it. Starstruck. Cameras flashing, cars and magazines. Yeah. Rom-com girly, like I said, it is what it is. I am who I am. I love that down. And we see, fun fact, y'all, Disney was really the blueprint a lot of the times. There are rom-com books like that to this day. um, I really do think, they really did well with that. And not saying that they were the first to do it in regards to Starstruck, because we've seen like things like, not exactly the same. I was gonna say Bodyguard with Whitney. That's not the same thing, but you know, we've seen this whole like stardom and someone who's not in the stardom and the limelight of it all, how they fall in love with someone else. Like that's been done before. But I liked for Starstruck when I was a kid or a teen or whatever. I liked the the tie-in with that, but also like it was a little bit hate to love. Um, yeah, I would say that. I mean, he didn't hate her as much as she hated him, but it was there, like annoyance. And then they eventually like learn to like each other. He has to humble himself a bit. She gets to humble him and things like that. That was fun to me. It was like, nah, you need to appreciate her. You know what I'm saying? Versus like, we see stories all the time where like she's chasing after the guy. It's like, nah, you chase. Um, let's go into, I would say, what would younger you watching these shows think of who you are now? Uh, that's a good question. I think I'm my younger me, especially like I said, rom-com girly things like that, dreaming, believing, all this stuff like that. It still aligns. I am an introvert, but when I'm with my peoples and things, I could drop some comedy and some humor. And I think that really does pull in from, like I said, watching all those shows. Even Miley was funny on Hannah Montana, Alex Russo from Wizards, That's So Raven, I already talked about. Like all of that kind of ties in. I love a good comedic moment. I think younger me would say I'm doing pretty good, you know what I'm saying? I think if I were to put myself in like a Disney Channel setting at this moment, oh, motorcycles being rude. If I were to put myself in the Disney Channel, scene of this moment, I think I would eat. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be as fun though because I'm an adult and I like work. I work a regular job, but maybe maybe I need to be following my fashionista dreams like all the other girls were, and maybe that is where I need to align myself. But I think I'm doing pretty good in regards to the dreaming, believing, confidence, and stuff like that. We're on our way. You know what I'm saying? There's life. There's just so much to learn. There's just so much. I want to say quick rapid fire nostalgia questions before we end it here. These are for you, but I'm gonna also answer them. I'm like I said, rapid fire. I'm trying to be quick. Favorite Disney Channel theme song? Mm, I really do think it goes to Proud Family. Ooh, Kim Possible Kaniso too. You see, I'm already not doing rapid fire. Let's go. Let's go Proud Family. I'm gonna say Proud Family. Most iconic episode of all time. I said it before and I say it again. I love Halloween stuff. I think the most iconic episode really is Sweet Life, Zack and Cody, the Halloween episode with that room number I can't think of. I think they did a solid job. It was equally scary, equally funny. 8 down. Character you wanted to be versus character you were. I think I kind of wanted to be a Raven. Chaotic energy, not really, maybe like a blend of like Raven and Alex. Alex was kind of ridiculous though. Like there was Raven cared. There were some times Alex really didn't care. Like so maybe more so Raven. But character you were for a minute, I was more like a Sunny, to be quite honest. I've and I feel like yeah, this same thing happened. Sunny kind of hardened up a bit because she had to. It was like you can't really be all bubbly around everybody like that because the world isn't really set up that way. And I think that's kind of what I did too. I think I'm definitely more of a Sunny. One fictional outfit you still think about anything in Raven's closet, period, point, and blank. The decom you'd show to a kid today. I introduced my little sister to well, it's not a decom. I had her watching. This is her sister. um, she watched Raven's Home. My little siblings watched Raven's Home, and I think that is a pretty darn good connection. Even though I can't tell you that I've introduced them directly, I can't remember, or if I just showed them Raven's Home. Um, but yeah, probably say that's a Raven. I think that's a solid place to start, to be quite honest. And the show that still holds up, quite frankly, I think they all do. I think Disney did a great job, which is why we're talking about the golden era. I think they found something in the 2000s and they learned to keep it in certain ways. They kept it in the 2000s and then kind of fell off. They didn't keep it because they canceled things. And I know as a kid, it didn't feel like shows were being canceled, just feel like they came to an end because like however many episodes or however long they extended the period out of watching stuff. It didn't feel like that, but nah, like there was some shit like That's Raven was canceled, Lizzie McGuire was canceled, all these shows that they kind of dropped to the end. So, but I really do think they all still hold up. There's not a show that I wouldn't go back and watch. There's just so much freaking TV to consume. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If you listen to it and you want to drop some thoughts on a TikTok or a video, something like that, let me know. What are your thoughts on like how Disney Channel has impacted you to this day? Do you think it makes an impact on any of your decisions you make as a day to day in your adult life? Whether it's in regards to relationships or in regards to your personal journey and growing, like how do you see that impacting you? Like I said, I really do think funnily enough, I look at relationships similarly to how I was kind of like looking at them when watching Disney. I was comparing and contrasting. Like when I would watch, for example, Miley struggle, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is good to know. I don't want that. I'm like, I know, I don't want to be dealing with that in the future. Like, learning from the character's mistakes. I think that was a big thing. But yeah, shout out to y'all for listening to this. Shout out to y'all for having this conversation with me. I appreciate it. Make sure you once again drop a comment. Follow me at the Introvert Social Hour on TikTok, at Kayvana on Instagram. Make sure you're following this podcast to, know what's going on, all the things that are dropping out, and even just, stay up with each other, even outside of the podcast. So just make sure you're just following me on all those places. Get some sunshine, get some air, have an amazing week, and I will see you next week on the Introvert Social Hour. Bye.